Hi guys, welcome to your first video of Unit 4. This is about Lesson 19.2, which is about Arithmetic Series. So today in class we talked about sequences, so now we're going to find the difference and talk about what a series is. Okay, this is on page 299. It starts on of your Springboard book, and you'll want a pen or a pencil and a calculator. Okay, so first up we are going to write a formula for the nth partial sum of an arithmetic series, and then we are going to calculate partial sums of an arithmetic series. Okay, so first of all, what the heck is a series? So we talked about in class what a sequence is. We know that the pattern is going to be adding by a certain number or subtracting by a number. And an arithmetic series is still going to have that same pattern, but it is going to be the sum of the terms in that sequence. Okay, so it's very similar to what your sequence is. It's just adding up all of those terms. The sum of the first n terms of a series is the nth partial sum of the series and is denoted by this here, S sub n is how that's pronounced. Okay, so S sub n equals the sum of the nth term. So that means this here, S sub 4, means that it wants you to find the sum of the first 4 terms. So in this case, you would just add 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10. So when you do this, I don't know why my color keeps changing back and forth to blue, but don't mind that. So 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 is going to be 28. Okay. Then same idea, to find S sub 5, you would do the sum of the first 5 terms. So that would be 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12, which is going to be 40. And then last, you would find S sub 8, which is the sum of the first 8 terms. And that's actually all of the terms that they gave us here. So you would do 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12 plus 14 plus 16 plus 18, which would give you 88. Okay, so that's really all it is. And again, we know this is an arithmetic sequence here because 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, it is just adding 2 each time. So the common difference would be 2, but now we're looking at the partial sum. Okay, so we're going to skip over a couple of these next parts here because what they're doing is deriving the formula. But I'm going to give you guys the formula because I find that to just be a little bit easier. Okay, so here's your formula. You want to write this, add it to your arithmetic sequence explicit formula. You want to keep these in a nice spot where you can refer back to them. But this is your formula for the partial sum of an arithmetic series. Okay, so basically what this means is instead of like if we were trying to find the sum of the first 12 terms and you didn't want to sit there and do, 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8, whatever it was, if you don't want to sit there and add them all up, then here's a formula. Okay, so basically what this means is S sub n, that's going to be your partial sum. So just like we saw on the last page, then n is going to be whatever term that is. A sub 1 is your first term, and A sub n is that term you're looking for. And then you would just use this formula to add them all up. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice here. Again, S sub 4, we're using the same sequence here. Okay, so we're just going to see, does it work out the same way? So S sub 4 equals, again, n is 4 divided by 2. And then your A sub 1, remember A sub 1 is your first term, so that's also 4. And then A sub n is going to be your last term. Sorry, not your last term, but the 4th term in this case. So we would do 4 plus 10 here. Okay, now if we go to simplify this, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 4 plus 10 is 14. 2 times 14 is 28. Okay, if we look back to the last page, when we added each of those up to find the sum of the first 4 terms, we got 28. Okay, So let's try it again. Now we have S sub 5. Okay. So now the number that's going to go be plugged in as n is 5. Still divided by 2. Again, we're just plugging into this formula here. Then a sub 1, your first term, is still 4. And then your fifth term now, that's what we want to plug in here, is 12. So now you could do this in your calculator. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. 4 plus 12 is 16. So then 2.5 times 16 is going to give you 40. And again, if we look back, that matches. Okay, so we're doing it correctly. And then last one here, S sub 8. So we would do S sub 8 equals 8 divided by 2. And then again, our first term is still 4. But what is your 8th term? That's going to go last, so that's 18. So then 4 times 22 is going to be 88. So we're good to go. And then if we check back again, we did it correctly because we had 88 here. Okay, so it's basically just another way to find what your partial sum is without just sitting there and adding and adding and adding and adding. Okay. Or if you were not given the terms in between, you were only given the first and let's say the 8th term, then you would be able to use this formula as well. Okay. All right, so then moving on to the next page, we're going to skip a little bit more, and then there is a new formula for you. So let's go ahead and write this one down. Okay. So this new formula, S sub n equals n divided by 2, so that part's still the same. But then on the inside, we have 2 times a sub 1, your first term, plus n minus 1 times your common difference. Okay, so this one's a little bit different, but it still is finding the same thing, finding your partial sum. But we're going to use this when we can figure out the common difference, but we don't know. So look, if you guys look at this example here, in this case, we don't know what that 20th term is. They only gave us the first 4 terms, right? So this is a new formula for if you're not given that term that they're looking for, okay? So there's still a way you could figure out that partial sum. All right, so here's how you would do it. So we are looking for S sub 20. And we are going to plug in then n over 2 is going to be 20 over 2. And then we're going to do 2 times a sub 1, which is your first term. So 2 times 3 plus n, remember, is 20 minus 1 times d, which is your common difference. So that's the only different part here is you have to figure out what that common difference is. So you would say, okay, 8 minus 3 is 5. 13 minus 8 is 5. So my common difference is 5. Okay. Then you could just plug this all into your calculator, or you could simplify here. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6. 20 minus 1 is 19. And 19 times 5. And then you could simplify this even further. So that would be, whoops, that should be plus there. So 10 times 6 plus 95, or in other words, 101. Okay, so that finally equals 1010. So that means the sum of the first 20 terms of this sequence here is going to be 1010, and we did that without even knowing what the first 20 terms are or what the 20th term is. Okay, so let's try one more like that. So this one's asking for S sub 18. So again, that means that your n is 18 throughout the whole thing. So we're going to do 18 divided by 2. Again, I'm just plugging into this formula here. And then 2 times your a sub 1, or your first term, which is negative 2. and then plus n minus 1, so 18 minus 1. And if you want to, obviously we know that's 17. You could write it that way right away. And then you just have to figure out, okay, what is my common difference? So again, you have to do -4 minus -2. Okay, that's -2. Whoops. -6 minus -4. Okay, that's -2. So your common difference is -2. And that's being multiplied by the 17. Okay. So then you go ahead and simplify, or you plug this whole thing into your calculator, and you should get that the sum of all of those first 18 terms is -342. Okay. All right. Then last thing we're going to do is a couple more examples where we put it all together. Okay. So we're going to have to determine which formula to use. Okay. Depending on what information is given to us. Okay. And again, make sure you have these two formulas written down because these are our new ones that we're going to be working with. Okay. So part A, and these are at the bottom of page 301. So if you want to go ahead and do them there. But I'm going to just, for the sake of room, do them on another page. So first, part A says, find S sub 8 for the arithmetic series with A sub 1 equals 5 and A sub 8 equals 40. Okay, so first you have to figure out which formula you're going to use. And we're given the first term and we're given the 8th term and asked to find the sum of the first 8 terms. Well, that means that we're going to use this formula here because we don't have the common difference, nor can we calculate it. So we are going to use this first formula. Okay, and we are going to find the sum of the first 8 terms. So 8. And then we're going to plug in 8 divided by 2. They told us our A sub 1 is 5. And they told us that our A sub 8 is 40. So we're just going to plug those in. 5 plus 40 is 45. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So then 4 times 45 is 180. And that's it. That's your answer. Okay. Questions on that? Put them in the little chat thing here. Okay. Next one, and this is part B. It gives us a sequence here, 12 plus 18 plus 24 plus 30, and it asks us to find S sub 10. But we don't know what the 10th term is. So therefore, we don't know this part here. So we cannot use the first formula. We have to use this second one here. Okay? Because we can calculate what the common difference is. So let's go ahead and do that first. What is the difference here? Well, the common difference is 6. And if you want to, maybe it'll be helpful to write all of this out. Your A sub 1, or your first term, is 12. And your n is 10. That's what they're asking for, the 10th sum of the first 10 terms. And so now let's go ahead and plug in. So we have S sub 10 equals n, which is 10, divided by 2. And then 2 times your A sub 1, or your first term, which is 12, plus n minus 1, so 10 minus 1, or 9, and then times your common difference, which is 6. So you would go ahead and simplify. We've got 5 times 24 plus 9 times 6, which is 54. So basically you've got 5 times 78. And that is going to give you 390. And that's it. So that would be the sum of the first 10 terms in this sequence. Okay. All right. Then let's go ahead and have you guys try this last one here. So first figure out which equation you should be using, and then go ahead and use that equation to calculate the sum of the first 25 terms. Okay? I'll leave a quick answer key at the end, and if you have any questions at all, please bring them to class tomorrow. We're going to be practicing these two formulas, but other than that, have a good one.